Ever since the 1970s, the European Union has been developing consumer policies. Their aim? Rebalancing the asymmetric market powers between traders and consumers. For instance, if consumers buy cars that don't work, these laws make it easy for them to get their cars repaired, get new cars, or get their money back. In this video, we'll focus on a general overview of European consumer law. More specifically, we will explain the reasons these consumer protection rules exist, go through some of the most important European consumer protection laws, and discuss why and how these rules are relevant for you. The goals of consumer protection rules. Think about the last time you bought a coffee. You ordered, paid for your coffee, and picked it up. Did you try and negotiate the price? Could you ask for other coffee brands than those offered by the cafe? The answer to these questions is most likely no. As a customer, you had no idea of the production cost of that coffee, where it was sourced from, or whether it used fresh ingredients. You either take the deal or you leave it in the hope that other coffee shops can accommodate your preferences in better ways if you're not satisfied. This example shows how consumers do not have enough negotiating power to change the business realities around their needs and preferences. They lack most of the information that professional traders normally gain as professional traders. There's a power imbalance between business owners and consumers, which is also there when you advertise or sell things to your audience. That's why EU law demands that you give your consumers adequate protection. If you include paid product reviews, collaborate with a brand, or sell your own merchandise, then these laws apply to you. European consumer protection now gives a wide range of rights. Basically, every business or individual acting as a trader towards European consumers must know and offer consumers these rights in order to comply with the law. Relevance for the influencer industry. In the eyes of European law, when someone, whether they're a person or a company, has commercial activities that occur on a regular basis and for profit, consumer protection applies. When you monetize your content, whether you advertise goods and products on your social media channels or sell them on your personal websites, you are considered a trader by law. The most famous kinds of consumer protection are the requirement to label your sponsored posts. But EU consumer protection goes way beyond this. As an influencer with European consumers in your audience, you need to be aware of these rules and prepare accordingly. Although to this date there is no explicit law for influencers at European level, that does not mean that influencer marketing and content monetization in general are not covered by any law. To the contrary, as we'll see in this video, there's a rich collection of mandatory legal rules at European level which do apply to you. But what exactly are these rules? Here's a brief overview of some of the most important ones that you need to remember. We will explore these laws in more detail in further videos. We'll give you a couple of illustrative examples here, but there are many other activities that these laws may apply to, so it's important that you watch other videos or check out the Influencer Legal Hub to help you understand these in detail. First up, the Unfair Contract Terms Directive. When you sell a product to a consumer, you will state terms and conditions related to that sale. For example, when and how customers can return a product, or under what conditions you will accept that return. These terms and conditions make up a standard contract. For instance, you can't force a consumer to travel to another country if they want to sue you. Another example is if you sell makeup using dropshipping, meaning through a third-party intermediary, you can't use standard terms that absolve your responsibility if consumers get health problems as a result of using your products. Sometimes dropshipping platforms from countries outside the EU might offer unacceptable standard terms with a much lower level of consumer protection than the EU offers, and it's your responsibility to ensure that standard terms meet the requirements of the Unfair Contract Terms Directive. Number 2 for this video, the 2005 Unfair Commercial Practices Directive is another example of how important fairness towards consumers is in a European consumer policy context. This directive aims to combat a broad range of business practices, including untruthful information in consumer communications or aggressive marketing techniques to influence consumer choices. This means that you should not make false claims about the effect a product might have. To take a few quick examples, you cannot claim that you lost 5 kilos by using a weight loss product if that never happened. And the same goes for using beauty filters and then saying that your perfect skin is the result of a skincare product. 2011 brought the Consumer Rights Directive, which outlines the information that consumers need to be given before they buy goods, services, or digital content. This also applies to their right to cancel online purchases whenever they shop in the EU. Even if you sell merchandise through a third-party seller, like a drop shipping company, you have a responsibility to know this information and to make this information available. There are a couple of newer consumer protection laws that you should also know about in order to stay up to date with how they apply to your work. One example is the 2019 Digital Content Directive. It focuses on consumer protection in the context of digital content and digital services. Both of these concepts have very broad definitions and include most relevant activities taking place on online platforms nowadays. But this law is particularly relevant for you if you provide your followers with digital courses, ebooks, apps, or any other things that could be considered digital content. For instance, if you tell your followers you'll charge them for an online course where you offer 6 online calls to offer coaching or teach them skills, but then you end up only offering 3, consumers can ask for a price reduction. Similarly, if the videos do not have the expected quality, consumers can also ask for their money back. A sister law of the Digital Content Directive called the Consumer Sales Directive was also updated in 2019. This directive has similar requirements, but this time for goods and not for digital content. You may need to be aware of its content if you sell goods to your followers. Oftentimes, if you do not know a lot of details or have little control over the manufacturing process of the goods you offer, there may be problems with their quality. In these cases, if these products lack the qualities that you tell consumers about when they purchase them, they may be entitled to ask for new items, a reduction in the price, or for their money back. More recently, the Digital Services Act, or the DSA, was adopted in 2022 as one of the most important reforms in platform liability globally. While it's not considered a consumer protection law as such, the DSA has very important provisions meant to create more consumer safety on online platforms. This includes new transparency duties which traders have to consider when offering products and services to consumers on online platforms. If you sell goods to your followers, you might have to register with the social media platforms that you use as a result of this law. This overview may seem complicated, especially if you are operating your business alone or if you're just starting your business. However, it's important that you protect yourself and your customers by ensuring that your activities are consistent with EU consumer law. We think you should spend some time checking your standard contracts and product information carefully after watching our videos. We also suggest checking all the information you provide about products is truthful. Lastly, we advise you to double check the rules in your country to see if and how you need to be registered. We don't cover specific information from member states in our videos, but you can find more sources over at the Influencer Legal Hub. The hub will help you check that your activities are compliant with EU consumer law and will keep you up to date with any important changes in these areas that might apply to you.